So say you're not getting the engagement that you're looking for. For some reason, people aren't taking the action that you anticipated or expected them to take. I would say come all the way back to the top. So this comes full circle, and you got to come back to value. Welcome to the Digital Ministry Podcast. I'm your host, Nick Runyon, and we got a little bit of a different format today. So this is episode 17. If you've listened to the first 16 episodes, any of those, we typically do like an interview style format, which is great and pretty common. But today we're going to, I'm going to fly solo. And so you're with me today. Why are we doing this? There is, there's a conversation that's been coming up a lot recently in some of my business conversations and some of my conversations with ministry leaders that I just wanted to share with our audience today. I think it's an important concept that we need to kind of review. I thought about having somebody interview me on this just to keep the format the same, but that felt like really weird and kind of stupid. So I thought I would just record this solo episode today. And we might do a few of these because there's quite a bit of details here in this conversation starting off. But really what we're talking about is what does it mean to engage in digital ministry? How does that differ from a normal marketing process, like a go-to-market strategy in industry or in business? Does it differ at all? Are there things from the business world that we can learn and apply to our ministry teams? So I just want to explore some of these ideas. And I also, in a future episode, I want to give a breakdown for you and your teams in your church or ministry of how I've built and trained several marketing teams. I mean, I've hired probably dozens of people. I mean, 2-3 dozen people, 30 people or so into different marketing teams throughout the course of my career. And I've, over the years, developed this kind of onboarding training process that I would like to share with all of you. So we're going to start at the basics today. Let me give just a little context. So as many of you know, if you've heard, mention on some of these past episodes, my family and I, we live in Montana. I actually started my career here with a .com years and years ago. And I talked myself into my first marketing job. So I was working for this online startup here in Montana. Our marketing director quit. I went into the CEO's office and I said, I want that job. And he said, no, go back to work. And I said, well, hold on. Hear me out. So I'd been helping the company run, some Google ads, like very low level, just really kind of beginning to understand how this stuff works. And I said, here's what I've learned. I don't have to have the experience that you're looking for in a marketing director. Now, this was maybe a poor opening, but he paused long enough for me to continue. And I said, what I've found is that this is a continually changing landscape. The digital marketing environment changes so quickly and so regularly that experience isn't as big of a factor as we may have thought in the past. And he was kind of intrigued by this. He's like, all right, continue. I said, because this stuff changes so quickly, all we have to do as a company is learn what's happening, apply those learnings, be sure to test and measure well to prove or disprove, our hypothesis, whatever it is that we're testing in these digital ads, apply that learning and then do it again. Just loop that over and over again. And if we can cycle that faster than our competition, then we will win. And I could see he was thinking about it. And I said, plus, because I don't have the past experience, you don't have to pay me as much as if you were to go out and hire a marketing director. Now, that might have been a mistake. That might have been a career mistake in looking back. So I'm a fan of this conversation. I've shared the story many times, but I always say, like, don't leave money on the table. Maybe not negotiate your salary down, but it did work out for me. I was able to get this job. He said, okay, I'll give you 6 weeks. And I kept that job for 4 years. That company was on the Inc. 500 list, one of the fastest growing companies in America, multiple times in a row. We built quite a good process. I knew that if I could put in $1, actually, I knew that I could acquire customers for $121 at the time. And if I could just find sources of customers for $121 based on average order size, retention, frequency of orders, I knew that the lifetime value of that customer would pay for the marketing expense. And that's how we made money. Okay, so why am I telling you this? That is the experience that I took into the ministry world with me. So from that job, we left Montana and we went and engaged in several nonprofits over the years. But that early idea of continuously learning and applying these techniques in order to add value to the customer is something that I always carried with me. And I think that it applies very well in the digital ministry landscape. So something that we at MII have been talking about with some of our ministry partners and those teams that we serve, something we've been talking about recently is this idea of value. And so I want to start with this idea of value. We've talked a lot about your target persona. So again, a persona is an idealized representation of the person that you're trying to reach. Like in a business context, it would be your ideal customer. So this is not anybody. It's who is the ideal, who is the person, not that just comes in and buys something once. And, again, in a business context, it's that person that comes over and over and over again. They are loyal to your store or to your service. They tell their friends about you. They are one of your biggest champions and advocates. One of the best sources of advertising is word of mouth advertising. That would be your ideal customer in a business context. In a ministry context, we might think about there's a full spectrum of people that you might reach. Just to use a really easy example, let's say that spectrum goes from, kind of antagonistic skeptic to seeker. Again, these are just generic terms that we're going to use to kind of describe this process. So where would your ideal be? So if you're a ministry that is more focused on kind of apologetics and kind of the intellectual aspects of the Christian faith, like I've done a lot of work in the past with Matt Brown. And Matt Brown is an evangelist. Through Matt, I was able to meet and spend some time with Lee Strobel, the author of Case for Christ. Lee has made a career out of writing books and speaking on the topic of the validity of the Bible and the truth of Christianity, from his legal and reporting background as an investigative reporter, really proving out for millions of people that the Bible can be trusted and that it's true. That's a more kind of academic, intellectual type of conversation. He might really want to engage with people that have a lot of hard questions, kind of skeptics. Some might say, maybe your church is on the other side of the spectrum, where you offer a lot of services like family counseling, marriage counseling. Maybe you have like financial classes for people to take. There's different ways to serve the community. Maybe that would be your ideal persona. So whatever it is, like spend some time thinking about who is your ideal, who it is that you're trying to reach, and then really zeroing in on this idea of value. What would that person find to be valuable? And this is really tricky. I think a lot of ministries sometimes think about what they think is valuable. We're going to think about kind of our own value matrix or definition of value. By default, we're going to think about what we think is valuable. That might not always be what our persona understands to be valuable. So for example, let's use that church example where somebody's in, say they've got tens of thousands of dollars in debt, and you have like a financial budgeting class or something like that as an offer to your community. So this idea of value begins with really your persona has a problem and you have a solution. So the problem might be debt, finances. The solution might be training, support. Maybe there's like a food bank. Maybe you have services or donations from the church that are provided to families in your community that are having a hard time financially. So this problem is well defined. What would be valuable? Like, is the training valuable to somebody that just got the gas shut off to their house, the lights just got shut off that morning? The training might not be, that might be where they need to go long term, but that might not be immediately valuable to that person. They might say, like, how do I make sure that the heat is on tonight so that my kids don't freeze while we're sleeping? So maybe what's more valuable in that situation is some kind of like benevolent fund, or maybe the church has some kind of offering that they take to support families in need like that. Matching the problem to the solution is where we create value. So this problem solution match really is where value is found. And I think that this is such an important idea because this value proposition is really where meaningful relationships begin to develop, and where that transition from kind of being an anonymous, personified, member of the audience that you're targeting, in your community through digital ministry. When you start to deliver value in a meaningful way to that audience, that's when they begin to engage. And so that person, the who that you're trying to reach, really begins to self-identify. Whenever that solution matches their problem in a way that's delivering value, people begin to raise their hand and they say, I want some of that. I want what you are offering. I want to engage with you. I want to know more. Oftentimes with digital ministries, we start with content. People will think about like, oh, what's the content that we need to create? I just need to get on Facebook and run some ads. People start with this idea of content. Content is important. That's really kind of what you're going to carry through an ad campaign to deliver a message to your persona. But content in and of itself is not valuable. The persona is the who. Let's write this in a legible way so people can see what we're doing here. So the persona is the who we're trying to target. Then let's think about strategy. This is another word that I think gets really confused in ministry conversations. And again, this is all coming back to this value proposition idea, this problem matching to a solution. So we've identified our persona. You've spent some time really going through who it is that you're trying to target, what they might be feeling, thinking, needing in their life. The strategy comes from there. Strategy is really the where, what, and when. So if persona is who, strategy is where, what, and when of marketing. So what does that mean? Where? Like, where do these people hang out online? Are they reading newsletters? Are they reading Instagram? Are they watching TikTok videos? Reading Instagram. I don't think anybody reads Instagram. Are they on Facebook? I was working with a company the other day that's a design firm, and I was asking this question, like, what's your ideal customer? Oh, it's a person that has a design and they want to get it created. is what they said. I was like, I don't think so. Like, really, what's your ideal customer? Because I knew that this company does a lot of work with businesses. So really their ideal customer, once we talked through it, was somebody within a corporation who had budget, who had a timeline, who had a definition of what it was that they needed to be designed. And then they would bring that into this company and contract with them to get help to do it. So that's a much stronger persona because you've identified a lot of things there. They've got budget, they've got a timeline, they've got a commitment. If it's just like a random person or maybe even a small business owner with an idea where they need design help, that's not going to get as much traction as quickly as somebody who has a budget and exists kind of in a larger corporation that needs to get that solution delivered. So once we figured out the right who, then we could begin to look at like, where does that person find information? So again, I hope this is kind of a universal idea for our audience. I think everybody's interacted with different businesses or understands this, but like that person that exists within a company is probably not browsing Instagram or watching TikTok videos to figure out how to do their job better. They're probably using LinkedIn, right? LinkedIn is a more kind of corporate, a business-related social media platform. I would target LinkedIn. They might also be thinking about newsletters, industry magazines. Where does this person go to really gain insight about their job? It's probably not going to be TikTok. It's probably not going to be Instagram. Twitter's probably not the right matchup. That might be good for like some really high level awareness campaigns, but you don't get a lot of deep information from Twitter. It's kind of like links that you can go explore. Okay, so if that's the where, once you got that checked off, then what is it that they're interested in? This is where it comes back to value. The what really maps back to a proper understanding of what does your persona find valuable. That's what you put in front of them. So let's switch from this design firm example to a ministry context. Let's go back to the family that's having some financial difficulties, trying to make ends meet. The power just got shut off. So you've identified who it is that you want to reach. Where are they online? They might be looking at Facebook. They might be looking at local like community groups. They might be looking at private groups that exist for the city that you live in. They might be looking for resources on, places like Facebook Marketplace, possibly. They might be looking in, they might even be looking like in the local newspaper if that's a thing in your community. Like, where would somebody go to find that kind of resource for financial help, for some aid? Those are the places that you want to present your offering. So the offering is what? So if your church has a benevolence fund and you want to make that available, that's what you would talk about. When would you talk about that? Again, using this example of, somebody gets the power shut off or whatever. First of the month, end of the month. This is completely hypothetical. I'm just making this up as we go, but I hope that you're seeing that the strategy really comes out of a proper understanding of who your persona is and what they find valuable. Then, only then, after we've gone through these first two stages, do we get to content. Now you start to create content and ads and ad copy that relates back to the where, the what, and then the when is when you place it. The final step here is channel. Channel are things like social media platforms. Is it a newsletter? Is it a newspaper? Is it a billboard? There's different marketing methods and channels that you can use. Is it in-person events? Do you sponsor industry newsletters, conferences? Like, all of these things are different marketing channels. But once you have the persona, the strategy determined, the content, then you place it in different channels. And then it's really just the testing. What lies underneath all of this is testing. So what are we going to test? We're going to test ad copy. You're going to create A/B tests. Maybe you'll even have C and D. You have different versions of the same ad. You might test images. Change one variable at a time. You might change the images. One might be a woman. One image might be a man. One image might be a kid. Like, what images work best with your ad copy? Which channels are they on? You're going to test those different channels against one another. Now, a key to testing is understanding what it is that you're trying to accomplish. And so if you start testing without understanding your KPIs, your key performance indicators, then you're just going to be shooting in the dark, so to speak. You don't have a target to aim for. So a lot of digital ministries have engagement as a target. So engagement, that is the sloppiest handwriting I've ever seen. So engagement is defined in a lot of different ways on some of these platforms. So Facebook will have an engagement metric. That may or may not be what it is that you're looking for. Most of the times when people say they want to engage with their persona within their ad campaigns, what they're talking about is they want to offer somebody an opportunity to connect with them. So again, in this church example, engaging with a Facebook ad, liking, commenting on it, sharing it with their friends, that's somewhat meaningful, but that's not a key indicator of performance. A key indicator of performance would be maybe, let's say in the ad, you're asking people to go to the church website and fill out a form requesting help, or to sign up for a financial training class, or to send an email and connect with one of your pastors who are available to help and talk and provide counseling, whatever the case may be. That is the type of engagement that most digital ministries are looking at. And so if you're running ad campaigns, if you're engaged in some type of digital ministry work, but you're not measuring the outcomes that are key indicators of performance, or key performance indicators, KPIs, then you're really just wasting time and money. And the way to address underperformance in the KPI, just to bring it full circle. So say you're not getting the engagement that you're looking for. For some reason, people aren't taking the action that you anticipated or expected them to take. I would say come all the way back to the top. So this comes full circle, and you got to come back to value and understand, is what you're offering to people, are the creatives that you're putting out there, are the placements that you're buying, are they valuable to the person and the persona that you're trying to reach? This is usually where I said at the beginning, what we think is valuable isn't always valuable to the person that we're trying to reach. I think another mistake that people make is they kind of cut to the chase, so to speak. They want to go straight to show up in church on Sunday morning. Well, that's not valuable to most people. Most people have some kind of need that needs to be met long before they would make a commitment to come to your church. So that might not be what's valuable to people. Relationships might be valuable. So ultimately, you want people, to come to church, explore faith in Christ, become a part of your community. Those are all right and good things, but just recognizing that they're not inherently valuable to the community that you're trying to reach is a really important step, so that you can think about what is valuable to those people and how do you kind of engage them where they are to walk them through eventually to that outcome that you share. And ultimately it should be shared. We're not going to force anybody to come to church, for example. Can't force anybody to do anything. So this, I hope this is helpful. This is really something that I've developed through the years, just kind of as a framework. This is my starting point when I onboard new marketing team members. And so say if you're in a position where you're building out your marketing team, you're hiring up more people for your digital ministry effort, I would encourage them to think through this, maybe even share this episode with them. Think through this, check out the drawing. I'm going to put this in a PDF in the show notes, just like a little real-time sketch here that we did together. But it's really this value proposition, understanding persona, and then understanding how to build a strategy that delivers the right content in the right channels, that's tested to make sure that you're achieving whatever outcomes or performance it is that you've been tasked with. And then just looping this. This is, like I said earlier, how I got my first job in marketing, and I've leaned on it ever since. It's tried and true. So I hope this is helpful for you and your teams. Give me some feedback. What else comes to mind here? What are your teams struggling with? We've got, in the comments on YouTube, we look at those regularly. You can leave comments on Instagram. You can also email info@mii.global, and we'll check out your comments there. Hope this is helpful. Join us next time on the Digital Ministry Podcast, where we're going to talk about training and onboarding for either new or existing digital marketing team members. And so join us there. I think it's some really good tools that I've put together and helped build a lot of teams with. So I think it'll be valuable for you too. Thanks.